I cannot wait to see the look on those Mexicans' faces when you make them pay for that wall. They say it's going to cost $25 billion.
Fantastic, Pedro. Thank you very much. $25 billion? It can't be that much. Oh, God. Oh, God, don't worry, Donald. It'll be okay. Hillary's still ahead in the polls.
Mr. Trump. Alec Baldwin. Is he going to get arrested?
I don't know. Look, he's been trouble from day one. He did the imitation of me for years. I thought he was terrible.
Imitate him.
Well, no, I thought it was just,
Alec Baldwin didn't want to do it. The moment Saturday Night Live called and asked him to play Donald Trump, his first reaction was simple. No, absolutely not. He wasn't a fan of Trump, but that wasn't even the problem. Imitating someone like that, it just sounded exhausting. But then, something changed. The push from his friends, the challenge of it, and, let's be honest, the comedy gold waiting to be mined. He stepped on that stage, threw on the wig, puckered his lips, and within seconds, it was game over. Baldwin had cracked the Trump code.
Unfair. Why don't I get to make a closing statement first? After all, I am the
Sorry, but I think we all needed a break. Isn't that satisfying? Just not to hear his voice for a single goddamn second.
And here's where it gets crazy. Trump hated it. Really hated it. The more Baldwin exaggerated the pout, the hands, the rambling, the angrier Trump got. He called SNL unwatchable. He attacked Baldwin online, and what happened? The audience only grew bigger. Every tweet, every meltdown, every insult made the impression even more famous. It wasn't just a comedy bit anymore. It became a piece of political history. But how did Baldwin nail it so perfectly? How did he go from saying, "I can't," to becoming the Trump impersonator of a generation? And why did it get under Trump's skin so badly? That's where the real story begins. Alec Baldwin never wanted the role. When SNL first reached out, asking him to play Donald Trump, his answer was a flat-out no. He wasn't a Trump supporter, but that wasn't the issue. Baldwin had always believed that good impersonations came from a place of appreciation. And let's be real, he had zero admiration for Trump.
Testing. Gina. Huge Gina.
Okay, that was Republican nominee Donald Trump joining us now to discuss more on this.
Now, let me tell you something, okay?
What is that?
I wish that I was that.
Mimicking someone like that, it sounded miserable. A full-time headache. Trump's voice, his mannerisms, the way he talked in circles, it all seemed exhausting to replicate. Baldwin didn't want to spend his days trapped in that mindset, but then came the push. Tina Fey, Lorne Michaels, two heavyweights in comedy, both convinced that Baldwin was the perfect guy for the job. They nudged, they insisted, they wore him down. Maybe, just maybe, there was something here. Something bigger than just another sketch. Then came the moment. Baldwin finally said yes. And in that first dress rehearsal, everything clicked. The way Trump pursed his lips, his awkward hand gestures, the way he stretched for words that never came, Baldwin had unlocked something hilarious. What started as hesitation turned into comedic gold. He had no idea how big it was about to get.
That wouldn't be hard. I thought he did terrible. I thought he was terrible at it. They have other people that do much better, but he's always...
Becoming Donald Trump wasn't as simple as throwing on a wig and pouting. Alec Baldwin had to fully transform. It started in the makeup chair, where a team worked for hours to turn him into a human Cheeto. Layers of orange makeup, a perfectly ridiculous wig, and just the right amount of fake tan. It was all carefully crafted to match Trump's signature look. But the real challenge? The voice. Trump doesn't just talk, he rambles. He reaches for stronger, better words and never finds them. Baldwin studied this pattern, breaking down the strange rhythm, the awkward pauses, the exaggerated emphasis on random words. He pursed his lips, squinted his eyes, and forced his mouth into that bizarre, pouty shape. Every gesture, every smirk had to be spot on.
But Joe wears the biggest mask I've ever seen, and he's standing like 200 feet away from everybody. Oh.
Look, man,
I'm a nice guy, but if you give me any more guff tonight, I'll rip your face off like a mad chimp. I'll knock that thing off your head and burn it. Bury it in the pet cemetery where it came from. Stop it, Joe. Stop it.
And then, the hardest part, thinking like Trump. Baldwin had to make absolute nonsense sound confident and presidential. He had to deliver wild statements like they were the most important words ever spoken. That's what made it so funny. It wasn't just an impression, it was a perfect parody. He wasn't just acting like Trump, he had cracked the code. And once he did, there was no stopping him. Donald Trump hated Alec Baldwin's impression. From the moment it hit the air, he couldn't stop ranting about it. He called SNL unwatchable, said Baldwin's portrayal was terrible, and fired off angry tweets at 2 a.m. about how unfair it was. But here's where it gets funny. Every single insult made the impression even more popular. Trump's outrage worked like free advertising. Every time he raged about Baldwin, more people tuned in just to see what the fuss was about. Instead of shutting it down, he accidentally turned it into a must-watch event. And Baldwin? He leaned in harder.
Well, everybody, there's only one guy that has the most mediocre impression of me. He fails like a dog. You know who I'm talking about, right? Who is it?
You know, Donald, we could have been great friends.
Why do you say that?
If you had just changed your course 1 degree.
I think you're a dog.
All you needed was a slight change.
Alec, you were so mean to me on the show. The way you portrayed me, it was so unfair, and Stormy Daniels knows it. Alec Baldwin. Well, Alec, let me tell you, the way you look at me, it makes me sick. And you're a nasty guy, and you should be ashamed of that. Well, what do you say to that?
I say, you came, you left, I doubt you're ever coming back. God bless America.
China. Thank you very much.
Each week, the impression became more exaggerated, more ridiculous, more brutally accurate. Baldwin took Trump's own words, twisted them just a little, and suddenly, it was 10 times funnier. He didn't have to make things up. Trump's real speeches did the work for him. The reaction was split. Some thought it was the best political comedy in years, a perfect satire of Trump's bizarre way of speaking. Others, mostly Trump supporters, were furious. They called it biased, fake news, disrespectful, but love it or hate it, no one could ignore it. And Trump's tantrums only made it bigger. Alec Baldwin's Trump impression didn't just make people laugh, it changed how they saw Trump. What started as a comedy sketch quickly became a political statement. Baldwin wasn't just making fun of Trump's voice or mannerisms, he was holding up a mirror to the absurdity of his presidency. It got to the point where Baldwin wasn't just a comedian anymore, he became part of the political conversation. Interviews stopped being about his acting career and started focusing on politics. People wanted his take, not just on Trump's speaking style, but on his policies, scandals, and tweets. He even wrote a book in character as Trump, turning satire into something bigger.
Thank you all for joining us today for this important discussion. It's in no way a publicity stunt. This is a serious, private conversation between 3 friends, plus 50 reporters with cameras. I'm proud to welcome Kanye West, Yeezus, Yandi, Yadam, Yosein. An amazing guy. Thank you for coming, Kanye.
Yeah, that's right. I flew here using the power of this hat.
That's terrific. We've also got Hall of Fame running back and civil rights advocate Jim Brown. Not many people know he was a great lacrosse player. How are you feeling, Jim?
Already pretty nervous.
Then came the weirdest part. The line between Baldwin's impression and the real Trump started to blur. People who watched SNL every week started to hear Baldwin's voice in their heads when Trump spoke. His exaggerated hand gestures, his endless rambling, his pout. It all became so accurate that reality itself started feeling like a parody. Some people laughed. Others were furious. But one thing was clear. Baldwin's Trump wasn't just a joke anymore. It had become one of the defining images of a presidency. At first, playing Trump was fun. The laughs, the attention, the cultural impact, it all felt like a win. But after a while, Alec Baldwin started to feel trapped. What was supposed to be a temporary gig turned into something much bigger. And suddenly, he wasn't just an actor doing an impression. He was Trump every single week.
He says climate change is a hoax invented by China.
It's pronounced China.
Do you feel you're modeling appropriate and positive behavior for today's youth?
No, next.
Say
don't care about the kids?
Listen, I love the kids, okay? I love them so much.
The pressure was constant. Baldwin had to keep up with every speech, every scandal, every bizarre Trump moment. It wasn't just comedy anymore. It felt like a duty. And mentally, it started wearing him down. He admitted the role drained him, like he was carrying something heavy that he couldn't put down. Then came the backlash. Trump supporters were furious. The hate messages flooded in. Some even sent threats. Playing Trump wasn't just a job, it made him a target. Baldwin had been in Hollywood for decades, but nothing had ever brought this level of anger and obsession. He thought about quitting many times. But then, like clockwork, Trump would say something new, something wild, something impossible to ignore. And Baldwin knew he had to put the wig back on. Whether he liked it or not, he was part of this story until the very end.
Hillary's a woman, and the media need to start making this president look good.
Poopity scoop. Scoop poopity. Poopity scoop to poop. Poopity scoop.
Hey, Jim, you want to add anything?
Add? I got a couple of subtractions out.
Alec Baldwin's Trump impression may have started as a comedy sketch, but it left a permanent mark on political satire. SNL had always poked fun at presidents, from Chevy Chase's clumsy Gerald Ford to Will Ferrell's dim-witted George W. Bush, but Baldwin's Trump was different. It wasn't just a character, it became a cultural event. Every Saturday night, millions tuned in, not just for laughs, but to see how Baldwin would take on the latest headline. Even after Baldwin stepped away, SNL kept the tradition alive. The show continued to parody political figures, proving that satire wasn't just about entertainment, it was a way to process reality. It reminded people that comedy has always been one of the strongest tools against power, exposing the ridiculousness that sometimes hides behind authority. But Baldwin's Trump wasn't just funny. It shaped how people saw the real Trump. His exaggerated voice, pursed lips, and chaotic rambling became so iconic that some Americans couldn't hear a real Trump speech without picturing Baldwin. That's the power of parody. It doesn't just mock, it influences. Love it or hate it, Baldwin's Trump became part of history. It wasn't just another impression, it was a defining image of an era. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.